Barrett's esophagus. Is it a gallbladder problem or is it acid reflux? Barrett's esophagus. Is it acid reflux or is it a gallbladder problem? The simple answer is it's a little bit of both. So I'm the pharmacist and nutritionist in residence for Heartburn Cancer UK. So I do a lot of work with that charity, looking at supporting patients with gallbladder problems, bile problems, and Barrett's esophagus. And most patients with Barrett's esophagus are prescribed a PPI, and I'm often asked about whether it's safe to continue taking the PPI. And we know that obviously there are issues with nutrient status and other long-term problems from a PPI, but actually the benefits of the PPI in a Barrett's case far outweighs the risk. And it's about managing the process and managing the digestive system whilst taking the PPI. But what I find quite frequently is a lot of Barrett's patients have never knowingly had heartburn, or the typical heartburn that you get after meals, or that you can get periodically. But that what a lot of Barrett's patients actually suffer from is silent reflux, and the Barrett's only gets diagnosed when they have a camera. So Barrett's is essentially where there are patches of damage within the esophagus where the cells have started to change and they're starting to look a little bit abnormal. And the risk there is that that can then go on to become esophageal cancer. And that's the reason why we give people PPI. Not only does a PPI reduce hydrochloric acid levels, it also increases the production of a substance called mucin. And that's the substance that actually protects the digestive system lining from acidity and from damage. But obviously silent reflux, in my experience, has actually got more relation to bile reflux than simple hydrochloric acid reflux. And the reason for that is when you have bile backing up into the stomach, if you've got sludgy bile or if you've got gallstones or if you've got an issue with the muscle that controls the flow of bile between the different elements of the digestive system, then you are more likely to have silent reflux. So what happens is that bile comes into the stomach, it mixes with the stomach contents, it relaxes the esophageal sphincter, and it causes the stomach contents to come up into the mouth, the nose, the ears overnight while you're asleep. It's often doesn't wake you up. That's why it's referred to as silent reflux. And it's often a lot more damaging than simple reflux. You don't only have the bile, which is very caustic, it's like an alkali, it's like drain cleaner, it's really, really damaging. But you've also got pepsin, which is a substance that breaks down the proteins of the esophagus, and you'll obviously have hydrochloric acid in there as well if there's any left over from your digestive process. And all of this sits to cause the damage within the esophagus. And the reason that it's so damaging is the fact that you're not aware of it until the damage has been done. So if you are somebody that has Barrett's esophagitis, then it is really, really important that we manage that silent reflux process. So if you do have a gallbladder problem, it's really important to get that looked at, to support that. And I've done many videos around the support of the gallbladder and gallbladder symptoms, so do make sure that you have a look at some of those. But important things to look at are asking your GP to check your cholesterol and your liver function, to potentially do an ultrasound of the liver and the gallbladder to see if there is any signs of gallstones or gallbladder sludge. Looking at your diet, managing your blood sugar. The gallbladder is massively affected by your food intake. So if you're eating high amounts of sugary food, if your blood sugar is dysregulated, if your cholesterol levels are elevated, then you're more likely to have an issue with your gallbladder. So taking the time to look at the foods that you're eating and to manage that is also really important. Because you are going to be taking your PPI long term, you also need to consider asking the GP to check things like your B12 and your iron levels, to check your bones, to check your magnesium levels, to make sure that all of these are where they need to be and that we don't need to do anything else to support that process. If you're really struggling to digest food and you're having lots of digestive symptoms, then taking a simple multivitamin can also be quite helpful to support the lack of nutrient uptake that you're getting from the food that you are eating, and that can be really, really helpful. And I think the key message is, in your case, the PPI is definitely doing more good than harm, and continuing to take that PPI is really, really important. Another thing to be aware of is if you do still have that discomfort in your throat, the signs of silent reflux include difficulty swallowing, an uncomfortable feeling in the throat, lots of mucus in the ears, the nose, and the throat, a consistent cough. If you have any of those symptoms, then it's really important to get your esophagus checked out. If you're on a PPI and you're being managed for Barrett's, but you're still having those symptoms, then that would suggest that there is a bile reflux problem going on there. So whilst looking at the health of your gallbladder and managing that, another really important thing for you to be doing is to take some Gaviscon before bed. So there are lots of products. Gaviscon is just the one that was here first. So that's made from seaweed. It's got what we call an alginate in it. There are lots of alginate products out there. There's Gaviscon, Peptac, Acidex. Speak to your pharmacy and see which versions they've got. And it's really important that you finish your day last thing before bed with a dose of Gaviscon, making sure it's away from medication if that medication says not to be taken with an antacid. And that can really help to protect your esophagus on an ongoing basis. If you also get bouts of heartburn during the day, particularly if you notice that certain meals or certain things trigger a bout of heartburn, then it can be really helpful to use an alginate product during the day as well. So if, for example, you know that when you go out for a meal, you always have heartburn, then following the meal with a dose of Gaviscon or similar can actually help to prevent the damage to the esophagus. It's always better to prevent the damage than to act afterwards. So if you just get random heartburn, then taking a dose of Gaviscon is fine. But if you know that certain things trigger your heartburn, then have them, but make sure that you take some Gaviscon immediately after. It's much better to stop the damage from occurring than wait till it occurs and react to it. So if you have known triggers, then always follow those triggers with a dose of Gaviscon. The most important thing from a Barrett's perspective is that we're having as little damage to the esophagus as humanly possible. And that's where the medication comes in for that. There's lots of diet and lifestyle things that you can do to support your digestive process to reduce the risk of both silent reflux and acid reflux. So do please make sure that you have a watch of some of my other videos. Do make sure to drop me a like and a comment. If you've got any questions, feel free to pop them into the comments. If you need some support, feel free to reach out to one of my Digestion with Confidence practitioners. They've been fully versed in how to support patients with Barrett's esophagus to improve the mucosal layer to reduce the risk going forwards. And please do make sure, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe to my channel so that you get updates when new content drops. But in the meantime, I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.